Hi guys, welcome to my channel and to my journey in beauty. Today's video is my third update for the Throwing Shade project with the Pantastic Ladies. These are the three palettes that I used in the last month. The first week was the Tarte Clay Play Volume 1, and I was really surprised how much I enjoyed using this. This is definitely a palette that kind of languishes in my collection because it is a neutral palette. And I have neutrals in just about every palette that I own, so I don't always reach for this one. However, I really enjoyed working with this, and it is a very easy palette for me to work with. So to create the look in week 1, I went in with this shade Journey as my transition, and then I went in with the shade Stone in the crease as well as on the lower lash line. And then this really warm brown is called Ember, and I used that on the outer V just to start deepening things up. And then I went really dark on the outer V with this shade called Onyx, which is a black. Use just the tiniest bit of that. And then this shade right here, which is called Instinct, is the shade I used on my lid. It's the only shade in the palette that has even a remote bit of satin to shimmer to it. It doesn't really translate, but it is a nice formula for me for putting on a lid. And then this shade right here called Solstice I used on the brow bone. So I really enjoyed how this look turned out. I would consider doing a look like this with this palette again, because paired with a bold lip as you're seeing it in the pictures, I felt like it really had an impact, much more than I expected. In fact, I really wasn't looking forward to using this palette, and now I've sort of rediscovered it and re-fallen in love with it, even though that's horrible grammar. So you'll see that come back in look 4, but let's move on to week 2. So week 2 was the Urban Decay Distortion palette. If you've been on my channel for any length of time, you probably already know that I really love this palette. It's a great palette for a colorful look, as well as these 5 Transformer shades down here are very similar to the Kat Von D Alchemist palette in that whatever you layer them over the top of is just absolutely earth-shaking. Like, it changes the look so much. So as always, I try to create looks that I haven't created before with these palettes while going through the throwing shade process. I started everything off with this shade Old Smoke in the crease and transition area, just very diffused up on the hood of my eye and a little bit more concentrated into the crease. And then I went in with this shade right here, which is called Velvet, and it is a metallic burgundy color, if you will. And I put that on the outer lid and brought it up to the crease to meet the crease, but not into the crease. This shade, I've always kind of expected that it was a metallic silver. It's called Shag, but it is a silver, but it also has almost a purpley blue shift to it. If you can see that here, turns out it's much more unique than I thought it was, which is another great thing about throwing shade. And then the last shade I went in with really punched up the inner corner with this shade called Mind Games. And it is the purple transition shade right here in the palette. I love it. It's probably one of my favorites of those Transformer shades. It just has such a unique effect, whether you use it alone or you layer it over another shadow. So I loved how this look came out in week 2, and let's go ahead and move on to week 3. Oh, I also quickly wanted to mention, because several of you have asked down in the comments, so just for everyone's information, I do talk about this palette a lot because I do love it, and I did see that it was still for sale at a deep discount on the Sephora app the other day, so it's not completely gone yet if you are still interested. Not that I'm encouraging you to go pick it up. And then in week 3, I used the Bad Habit Athena palette. I haven't gotten much use out of this palette, but I do love the color story in here. This is the dupe for the Huda Beauty, I think it's the Desert Sunset palette, but I do love this palette. It has quite a few unique duochromes in it, and I was really excited to try and create a look that I hadn't created before. So going into week 3 with the Bad Habit Athena palette, the first shade that I blew out in my crease and transition area was this shade right here called Justice, and it's a matte taupe shade, and it's actually a really nice shadow. Not that taupe is overly exciting, but it is exciting to me because I don't know that I necessarily have another taupey shadow. And then I blended it out with this matte, very light peach shade, like a pastel peach shade called Purity. And then next I went in and deepened up the outer V into the crease a little bit with this dark orchid purple called Justice. And then on the outer part of the lid, I went in with this deep purple, kind of to the orchid side, called Wisdom. And then on the inner 2/3 of the lid, I went in with this shade called Medusa. And Medusa, what do I want to say? It's kind of a rose gold shade, but it has a lot more pink than gold to it. And it was a beautiful highlighting shade for the inner 2/3 of my lid. And I actually really, really liked how this look turned out, and I enjoyed playing with this palette so much. I think I will reach for it more in the future now that I've played with it some more. So let's talk about look number 4 from week 4, which is the look you're seeing today. I really love how this turned out, and of course I wore my one shirt that has purple in it. I don't know why I don't own more purple, other than it's not my favorite color, but I do like purple eyeshadow, so maybe I should think about getting more purple clothing. All right, so let's talk about the colors that I used today. It worked out perfectly that I ended up using 2 shades from each of the palettes. So I started off in my crease with this shade right here called Smoke. It is the gray from the Tarte Clay Play palette. Then I went in with that same taupey matte that I said I was so excited about in the Athena palette. And then this was definitely a favorite that I found this week. This is a taupey shimmer, and I actually think it would be an amazing one shadow look. And this one is called Truth. I love this shade. I think I will be using it a lot more. And then going into the Urban Decay Distortion palette, clearly I've been filming too long. I used the purple transformer shade called Mind Games again on the inner third of my lid, and then I used the pink transformer shade, which is called Blur. And then this shade right here is called Sand, and it's from the Clay Play palette, and I did use that on my brow bone. So I really liked how this look turned out when I was looking at these 3 palettes kind of all spread out last night on my desk. I was like, what in the world am I gonna create with these 3 palettes? Urban Decay, Distortion, and the Athena, had it just been these 2, it might have been easier, but then trying to incorporate, because these are both kind of cool toned, pink, purple, blue kind of thing, and then we have this. So it was fun though. I enjoyed swatching them out and all that good stuff. I hope you enjoyed all 4 of the looks that I created this month. This is kind of hard to say, and it's just because that I love the Pantastic Ladies group so much, as well as all of the ladies participating in this project. But this will be my last throwing shade update. I have enjoyed the project, but I've been doing a lot of reflection lately in planning a new fresh year for my channel in 2019. And one of the things that I'm trying to eliminate as much as possible in my beauty world is kind of forcing myself to use certain products. Of course, I'm still going to be doing a little bit of project panning because I do want to manage my larger collection by way of using up things that are older or whatnot. But there's a lot of changes coming to my channel in the new year, which I am very, very excited about. And therefore, I don't feel like I want to continue with the Throwing Shade project as much as it is a fun project. One of the reasons being, if you do the math of how many palettes I have minus the 9 palettes I've already gone through in Throwing Shade thus far, I still would have almost 10 months, so almost a whole nother year of this project. And as much as I think this is a fun project, I want to leave myself, my schedule, and my channel open to really getting into the nitty-gritty of what I already have. And I feel like the more project pans I do and the more projects like Throwing Shade, where I'm randomly selecting the palettes that I'm going to use for the next month, etc., I just feel like I'm working against myself with this project. So as much as I love it and as much as I love you guys, I hope you won't be missing this project too much, because I do have some really exciting new series. Is that even a word, or is it series? I have multiple new series coming in the new year, you know, including using my palettes in my collection. So I hope that makes sense. I hope you guys aren't too disappointed, and I really hope you enjoyed this last update for the Throwing Shade project with the Pantastic Ladies. And of course, I hope all of your makeup days are beautiful makeup days, and I will see you in my next video soon. Bye!